Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Monday, December 19th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Peach Bowl game against Georgia is in 12 days. The game against Michigan in 341 days. On yesterday's show, Tony and I talked about the initial reaction to the decommitment of Dylan Raiola, the top overall player in the class of 2024. Today, we're going to be taking a closer look at the why behind that decision, and maybe more importantly, what the Buckeyes are going to do now to fill that spot in the class of 2024. So, my guest today is Marc Givler of BuckeyeHuddle.com. He has been talking to folks close to the situation to try and get a better feel for what's really going on here. Marc, let's start there. I mean, there was this idea out there that the commitment of Lincoln Kienholz somehow factored into the decommitment, and Tony and I talked about yesterday about the fact that it didn't really ring true to us, and it sounds like after talking to some folks that know, that wasn't really a factor here. Yeah,
Dylan never really had a problem, with Brock Glenn being in the class previously to Lincoln, so this was not really a driving factor in the decision from everything I've been told, from people on different angles of this. So it doesn't appear to be related to the taking of a quarterback in 2023. They already had one previously. And so, the real question is, what is this about? Both sides are kind of being pretty low key about this, pretty professional about this. I don't think anyone wants to really spill the full beans on what's going on here for whatever reason. I went to a source who has been, I'll just say, consistently negative when it comes to Ohio State and NIL. So this is a source that, if NIL was a big factor, would have been kind of the first person to say that. They've been kind of touting this kind of negative thing that we're seeing with Ohio State NIL going around right now. So that source tells me that they don't think NIL was the big factor here either, so that kind of rules NIL out. So it's like, okay, what's going on here? The rumors that are out there are kind of, wanting more involvement in terms of, the offense, maybe even having a say in, offensive coordinator hires and things like that. I have not heard that. I know that's out there. So it's tough to get to the bottom of this right now. No one seems to want to actually kind of speak up and say what it is that fueled this. But I know Ohio State was caught off guard by it. They got maybe a couple days notice here on this, that this might be a thing that would be happening. This was not a situation where, like with Brock Glenn, where it was kind of a mutual thing and Ohio State had weeks to kind of scout other quarterbacks and figure their situation out. This is kind of resetting the board a little bit. All right, so we still have a little bit of a mystery there in terms of the actual reason behind this, which I guess might make this next question a little bit of an unknowable thing, but I feel like I have to kind of ask anyway. So whatever the issue is, is it potential that this is something that still could potentially be overcome and then end up with Raiola back in the class, or is Ohio State definitely, both parties are walking away and moving on with things and there's no chance of a reconciliation? I mean, I just think in these situations, it so rarely flips back, no matter what the issue is. I think it's really hard to rekindle those things, no matter what. But I think in this particular situation, would I put 0% chance on it? No, I'd put greater than 0, but probably not greater than 5. I think Ohio State's obviously going to have to completely open up the board here and look at all options, and I'm sure they would love to continue to have the dialogue with the Raiola family and maybe try and stay in this. But when it gets to the point it got to with the decommitment, it just rarely turns the other way. So I'm not expecting that. I'm expecting Ohio State to have to kind of reset things here and really kind of start from scratch, start from square one, because they really haven't had to worry about quarterbacks in 2024 since back in May. Yeah, so if it's not Raiola, the good news is they do have a full year to get things sorted out, and you put together a 3-name list of guys who they should look at for that 2024 position. One of them, of course, is Raiola himself, and, if you can get him back, great, that solves the problem. But, the other 2 guys are guys that we saw at camp last summer, and one of them is Colin Hurley. Now, he is someone who is committed to LSU right now. He just reclassified from a 2025 to a 2024. So that sort of changes the potential relationship there with Ohio State and Colin Hurley. What did you like about Hurley when you saw him last summer? Yeah, I mean, he's a tremendously talented thrower. Just great zip on the ball, throws just a consistently tight spiral. Easy arm strength. Doesn't have to put a lot into it. Has been very accurate both times. I've seen him throw a few times in person now. He's been very accurate every time. And he also brings an interesting dynamic with his legs. He's an athletic kid. He's mobile. There's a lot to like there. Obviously, the commitment to LSU is interesting. There's no reason to think he's wavering on that right now. I mean, he reclassified for a reason. LSU's got a nice looking depth chart for him. And reclassifying can kind of get him in there a year early to kind of get a head start there. But so there's no real reason to think he's just looking for another opportunity right now. But what happens here is, Ohio State was a real factor the first time around. Definitely one of his favorite schools, like top 2 or 3 schools. And it was never going to work if he wanted to reclassify, which he obviously has since done. So, they had Raiola at the time, and they weren't going to bring in another 24 quarterback. So, that really helped LSU here. And now it's like, okay, well, one of the main reasons that it couldn't be Ohio State the first time is now kind of out of the equation. So you wonder, can they, if given a few months to kind of work this situation, can they get someone like Colin Hurley back, opening the door and kind of listening? And so that would kind of be my first instinct, my first move if I were Ohio State. And I think they will explore it. I think they will reach out and just kind of see what the temperature is. But so that's an interesting one, and would of a list that group of quarterbacks that really there's not a lot of guys where you point and say, oh, that makes total sense right now. This is the one guy I think that would.
Yeah, and he's out of Trinity Christian down in Jacksonville, which is the same program that they got Marcus Crowley out of, and I believe the same program they got Tyreek Jackson out of, if I remember correctly. So that is a place where the Ohio State
and Sean Wade,
yes. So the Ohio State coaches are not going to get lost wandering the hallways there. So that some existing relationships there never hurt on that front. So, and then the third name you had on your list after Raiola and Hurley is someone who is not committed, but it might be a little more complicated of a situation than Hurley, which is weird considering that Hurley is committed and Jaden Davis isn't. So can you explain sort of the backstory there and why that may not be a real obvious, easy choice?
Yeah, I mean, look, Dylan Raiola and Jaden Davis were the top 2. Obviously, Jaden Davis is a high 4, low 5, depending, I guess, which service, but very top level quarterback out of Providence Day in Charlotte, North Carolina. Him and Raiola were the 2 top guys for a really long time there as they started this 2024 QB search. And, they essentially chose Raiola over Davis. It looked like for a while there that maybe Davis would be the guy. And then it became a thing of, well, it looks like they can have their pick. And they they went with Raiola. And so that becomes a very difficult situation, I think, to jump back into. Davis has since become pretty fond of Michigan. It's got some very serious J.J. McCarthy, Kyle McCord vibes here, where Ohio State kind of snatched McCord up, and McCarthy had to look elsewhere and ended up going to the the arch nemesis of the Buckeyes. So there's some J.J. McCarthy type vibes coming off of this one. I think it's a really tough one to fix. Would I try? Yeah, I would. I would make a call. I'd make a call and see what's going on there. They're already recruiting his teammate, David Sanders, who's very possibly the number 1 player in the country for 2025, left tackle. So there are relationships there at the school. I would kick the tires, but I'm actually in kind of a weird way. I'm actually less convinced that they could get Jaden Davis to reconsider them than Colin Hurley at this point.
I like the fact that we're doing the J.J. McCarthy, Kyle McCord thing with a little bit of a twist, where in this case, it's the guy who's, they maybe passed on the first time, who's now looking seriously at Michigan. He's the one with a really talented 5-star type offensive teammate who they would potentially also like to get. Of course, Kyle McCord and Marvin Harrison came from the same high school the same year, and that's worked out pretty well for Ohio State so far. So, history doesn't repeat, it doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. That feels like we're getting a little bit of that with, in the recruiting world right now. So that'll be a fun one to watch, and, quite an eventful, one of the many eventful things happening during this very eventful week in Ohio State football. We will have Ohio State, of course, had a number of transfer portal guys on campus this weekend for visits. Ohio State is obviously heading into early signing day on Wednesday this week. Ohio State is also a little less than 2 weeks away from playing a college football playoff semifinal against Georgia. Boy, oh boy, what a time to be alive, Mark. What a busy time at BuckeyeHuddle.com. We have folks covering all those different angles. Alex Gleitman has been going along with Mark, covering all sorts of the recruiting stuff, all sorts of the rumors, and what's going to happen, and who's going to flip, and is someone going to flip to Ohio State? Is someone going to flip away from Ohio State? All the drama, all the excitement of early signing day, plus the transfer portal on top of that, plus, of course, little football game going on in 12 days coming up in Atlanta. Tony, Kevin, and I will be down there for that one, of course. And of course, we also have our fantastic team of X's and O's gurus making you a little bit smarter about football, letting you know what you're, explaining what you're seeing on the TV, so you can understand it a little better and understand the why behind what is and isn't happening with Ohio State on offense and defense and all that good stuff. So make sure you sign up at BuckeyeHuddle.com today to get access to our full catalog of reports on our insiders board, on the huddle board, all of our fantastic. We have a lot of those recruiting reports that are members only. So sign up today at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Give it a try. Try for a month, and you're going to have all the early signing day, all the transfer portal drama, all the semifinal, potentially the national championship game, NFL draft decisions, all in that first month. And if you think, that was, that was too much information, then that's fine. That's fine. You can always cancel then, but give it a try at BuckeyeHuddle.com. That will do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.